Hello, in this video we'll learn about how to write and craft good Amazon product listings, which will help you to boost organic ranking, to dominate your competition, and also to lower the acquisition cost of your customer. Our guest today will be Emma Schermer Tamir, and she is running the agency or service for Amazon sellers, where she helps with copy and crafting the listings. It's called Marketing by Emma. And before we go on, I wanted to present a few companies which are sponsoring our event. It's Getida, which is an FBA audit and reimbursement service for Amazon sellers. They help you to claim money back from Amazon, which Amazon owes you. Check the link below in the description. Also, Perpetua is an e-commerce advertising optimization and intelligence software. They help to automate PPC campaigns on Walmart and Amazon. So if you're selling on these platforms and few other marketplaces, check them out. And Z can help you with it's a complete service of custom compliance and logistics. And if you want to expand your business globally, check them out. Link below in the description. They will be happy to help you. Another company sponsoring this session is Unibrands. It's an Amazon FBA acquire. They buy, build, and grow the brands on Amazon, and also they buy Shopify brands. So if you own e-commerce brand on Amazon or Shopify, talk to them and maybe you can exit and get some cash right now. Check the link below. And finally, last but not least, Helium 10 is also part of this event. They are sponsoring us, and this is an all-in-one suite for Amazon and Walmart sellers. And the links to these sponsors you will find below. If you like and enjoy this session, don't forget to click like. Even if you don't enjoy, click the like button. And if you don't enjoy, you can also still subscribe. And this session will be hosted by Lisette and Sophia. So,
hi everybody, happy to have you here.
Looking forward to it. Good. And today with us, we have Emma. Welcome, Emma, to the channel and to the session.
Hello. First of all, best hype music ever. I was getting so pumped listening to that. Second of all, I'm pretty intent on making sure that this is going to be a session that you will like. So get ready for some very actionable tips that you can apply to your business right now and see a marked difference on your performance.
Looking forward to it. Emma, then let's start. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the viewers who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Emma Schermer Tamir. I am the co-founder and CEO of Marketing by Emma. My business partner and husband, Erez, and I started Marketing by Emma in 2016. And since then, we've worked with over 1,000 businesses from all over the world, helping them build their brands and scale their e-commerce businesses through effective conversion spiking copy for their Amazon listings, websites, and any of those texts that you need to be able to effectively communicate who you are, why you're so great, and why people should be excited to buy from you.
Thank you for sharing. So then let's get into it. Can you please share with us what you have for us today?
Certainly. I'm going to flip over to, since I'm currently not at my regular setup, so I have one monitor, and so if you need me, I can't see you right now, so you're gonna have to verbally talk to me, but I am listening, and I'm really excited to be presenting this to you today. We're going to be talking about quick Amazon listing tips for big wins. So my goal with this presentation is not the standard listing optimization conversation that is maybe a little bit more advanced for somebody that's not a highly skilled copywriter. These are very actionable tips that even if you are just starting out or you don't think of yourself as a strong writer, you should still be able to implement and see a positive impact on your performance. So before we get into the nitty gritty, I always think it's important to kind of set the stage and clarify what it is that we're really aiming for. And this is, I think, it's a conversation that any business owner needs to be reminded of, which is that when you are thinking about any kind of marketing effort, you want to make sure that you are putting yourself in a position to make the right kind of sales. You don't want to just sell to anybody and everybody. You want to make sure that you are facilitating a sale with a customer that's going to be excited by what it is that you have to offer. And so there are a few components of that. First of all, you need to make sure that you're connecting with the right person. You also need to make sure that you're setting clear expectations. And then at the very least, that you are fulfilling those expectations, if not exceeding them, with a really fantastic customer experience. And you need all of those three things combined in order to make sure that you have a really healthy long-term business, because it's not going to do you any favors if you're making a bunch of sales, but then the people that are getting them are having a disappointing experience and sending their products back and generating a bunch of returns and leaving negative reviews. That's ultimately going to have a negative impact on your business. So you want to make sure that you're really clear about who should buy your product, who shouldn't buy your product, and then how you can position things in a way so that people are going to be finding your product, buying it, having the experience that they should have with it, and then being delighted by the outcome. So now I want to take you through a journey of one listing, and we're going to really focus in on the title and bullets of this listing and thinking about what we can do to make it more powerful so that it can sell even better than what it already is. Now, I purposely chose a listing that had a lot of room for improvement because it's going to be easier for you to see the changes that I'm making and where we can have some of those minor adjustments for really big positive impacts. So let's pretend for a moment that I'm getting onto Amazon. I'm a customer, and this is something that all of you should always be doing as part of your Amazon listing optimization process, is really starting off the experience as a customer would. So going into Amazon, taking one of your primary target keywords, searching it in the search bar, and then going through that whole experience as a customer. So let's say that I'm searching for odor-free bully sticks. So these are a treat for dogs. These are a more premium treat. They are also more expensive because they are at that more premium kind of level. So this is something that people who have dogs with a sensitive stomach, or they're really concerned about the diet that they're feeding their dogs, these are the kind of treats that they're going to be buying. So if I search odor-free bully sticks, at least when I put this presentation together, these are the first organic results that I am going to see as a customer. And I also chose this particular category because I have a lot of personal experience with it. I've bought these multiple times. In fact, looking at the first row of organic results, I've bought 3 of the 4 products that are shown there. So I know a lot about this. I know a lot about what it's like to be a customer. And I know also a lot about the frustrations that customers experience when they're shopping for these types of treats. And one of those primary experiences is a big factor in helping a person decide whether this product is going to be a good fit or not is the thickness and the length of the chew. That's going to determine what size dog it's appropriate for, as well as the how long the chew is going to last. So if it's really thin and small, that's going to be better for puppies or for toy animals or animals that might not have very strong jaws, whereas the really thick and long ones would be more suitable for aggressive chews like pit bulls or other types of larger breeds like that. So if I'm looking at this page, I really want to be thinking from the customer's perspective. Am I getting the information that I want? What's going to catch my eye? What is standing out? What's just kind of blending in? Like you'll notice the middle 2 both have very similar style of packaging, and they kind of blend into each other in some ways. So just starting to kind of collect information. We're not making any firm decisions yet. We're just kind of paying attention to what we see. So you're going to do that. Now let's hone in on somebody that doesn't have the benefit of being in one of those top ranking positions: chewy and tasty premium grade bully sticks. So this product is the product that we're going to be digging into. And the first thing that I really want to take a look at is the title. And as I mentioned to you, one of the most important things in my ability to gauge if a product is a good fit for me or not is how thick it is. That's going to give me a lot of information. For example, I have a smaller dog, but he has really strong jaws and he also has a lot of energy. And so I'm looking for a thicker treat that's going to last for more than 3 minutes, because otherwise I'm just throwing my money down the drain. These are the kinds of treats that I want to give my dog when I want to sit down to eat dinner and he's decided that it's time to play and that he wants my full attention and energy. So he'll start to get into his mischievous mood, and I am, tired and hungry. I want to eat my dinner. So that might be the time when I get a treat for him so that I can eat dinner with my husband. He can have his toy and then treat, and then we can play together afterwards. So if I'm looking at the title on the left-hand side, which is the original title for this listing, you'll see there's no mention at all of how many sticks this comes with, what the thickness is, what size dog it's appropriate for, how long it is. So there are a lot of basic missing pieces that I would want to know as a customer before ever even clicking into the listing. And the harder you make it for me to find this information, the less likely I am to be wanting to buy it. So if I look at this title, what I would do, and you can see what suggestions I'm making are all of the orange highlighted spaces. So I've written how many / the thickness, so really helping to clarify that detail that we've already discussed. I've also rearranged a lot of the information so that it's in more bite-sized pieces, no pun intended, in more digestible pieces of information so that it's just not one long string of text. And then I've also thought about what might be some other keywords and pieces of information that I could provide to help make this title more effective for its job, which the title's primary function is to reinforce to the customer that this product is a good fit for what they sought out to search for and that they should click into the listing. So it's sort of like a sign on the front of the door saying, if it's a hardware store, you want to make sure that somewhere it says it's a hardware store so that people aren't going in and expecting that it's a cosmetic store or vice versa. So you want to be clear from the get-go what it is and who it's for. And then you want to give them that additional information that's going to help them make the right decision. Again, kind of following along with this idea of facilitating the right kind of sale. So the first thing that we want to do, tip number 1, get organized to get orders. You have to make sure that you are really connecting with key buying criteria. So what does a customer need to know? And then making sure that you are organizing your whole listing. So whether it's the title, which we've already discussed a bit, or your bullets or your imagery, whatever it is, you want all of that to be really clearly organized so that people can quickly and easily find the information that they need to determine this is a fit for me, or actually I should go elsewhere. And I know what you're thinking. Actually, I should go elsewhere isn't what you want people to be saying. But again, as we discussed at the very beginning, if they're not the right fit, it's better for them to know that than to buy the product and discover they're the right fit once they already have it in their home. They're more prone to want to leave a negative review and have a bad experience and create a lot of cost and hassle on your end. So what does that mean beyond this idea of get organized? It means that you're incorporating all of the necessary information, that you're making sure that you're not using any extra wordiness than what you need to communicate your message. And also considering things like where your eyes focus when you are looking at be it the search results page or the listing itself, and then being sure to answer and anticipate any questions that a customer might have right off the bat so that they're reassured, yes, this is the product for me, or no, this isn't, but then they're able to go on their way and not waste an entire day trying to make a relatively minor decision in their lives. So what does this look like when it comes to the bullets when we're talking about organization? If you look at the 5 bullets on the left-hand side, these are the 5 bullets that are pulled directly from that listing. And they're using these all caps headers, which, by the way, you will still see people using this, but it is technically against Amazon's TOS. So as tempting as it might be to do that, I would highly encourage you to consider not doing that because it's just not worth having the hassle of needing to deal with that if your listing gets suppressed or suspended or anything like that. So if you look at these bullets, you'll see, let's just read the all caps headers to kind of perhaps get a sense of what these bullets are about. So premium quality and healthy. Okay. Natural flavor. Chewy and tasty, our tasty. So these headers aren't really doing their job at all. These headers should be constructed in a way that they're helping indicate to me what this bullet is going to be about, so that based upon the information that I'm looking for, I know where to find it. It's not doing that at all. And part of that is they're not using the headers effectively, but additionally, they're not really organizing these bullets in a way that makes them easy to navigate or for me to even find that information, even if the headers were better. So what I would suggest is a framework similar to what I've outlined on the right-hand side. So you'll see here, I have the 5 bullets, and I'm recommending sort of a concept around each one. So bullet number 1, the unique selling point and the primary benefit. So right off the bat, making it clear why someone would be really excited to have this product, what makes it better than the competition, what makes it unique in some way, and how is this going to positively impact a customer's life. The second bullet, you might want to consider doing something like your secondary features or the main or some other main buying criteria. Sometimes this is going to be another really impactful benefit. Other times it might be some really important features. It is totally going to be dependent upon your specific product and what customers want and need to know to feel confident in making a decision. Bullet 3 could be secondary features. Bullet 4, care, compatible with, good for. So that's kind of the how to use this or any important things that you should definitely know about this product before you buy it in terms of the use of it. And then the last bullet, what we really like to do is use that for trust and brand building. So reassurance, not necessarily saying guarantee, since that's also a murky area that's best avoided, but still giving that sense of confidence to the customer that you are a company that cares about giving them a positive experience and that you're committed to fulfilling that promise. So now we're taking that framework that I just laid out and let's actually see what that would mean with this listing. So bullet 1 currently is premium quality and healthy. If we're going to make that the unique selling point main benefit bullet, then we could make that keep dog happy, healthy, and out of trouble. That out of trouble part in particular is something that a lot of the listings neglect, a lot of the competitors neglect, and is actually a really impactful point that is overlooked by all these businesses. Because the fact of the matter is that it's not just the dog and the dog's experience, but the dog owner's experience is also really important. And a lot of times people are looking for a long-lasting chew toy like this to channel destructive energy, to keep them engaged, and to give them an activity that the animal can do independently so that they're not driving them crazy or making a huge disaster out of everything. Bullet number 2, again, we're kind of bringing in that other person that's oftentimes ignored. We're talking about the happy human because it's long lasting, it's odor free. Bullet 3, we can write about the fact that it's a great ingredient. It's just a singular ingredient. It's 100% beef. It's very nutritious. Bullet 4, where it's sourced from and manufactured in, that seems to be very important across the board. So we do want to make sure that we're including that information and the fact that it's produced in an FDA certified facility. And then bullet number 5, the commitment to quality and ensuring that positive experience, as we mentioned, really wanting to build trust and to invest in a little bit of that brand building as well. So that was tip number 1. Get organized to get orders. I hope that that doesn't seem too complicated. A lot of times it really just becomes about how can I reorganize this information so that I'm keeping all the information that belongs together, and then making sure that you're utilizing headers to indicate to the customer what each bullet is about. So now we're going into tip number 2. Go for grammar gold. So this is really not just about, making a listing that your English teacher would be proud of. Making sure that your listing is well written and even that your images are really high quality. All of those things are vitally important to building trust with your customers and helping them understand that you are a company that believes in delivering a quality experience to the people that buy your product. And all of those little details, all of that attention to detail is one of the ways that you're able to either reassure them that that's the case or to seed doubt into their mind and to make them think that you might not be as reputable as you'd like them to believe. So communicate value. You can also increase perceived reliability, even command a higher price tag. All of those things, if you invest in presenting yourself as quality, will be easier to do. So this is something that is very, very important. And you don't want to just sort of brush off as saying, oh, well, nobody really reads that closely anyway. So what might that look like? So here again, I haven't underlined everything because it would be way too much red here, but I wanted to call attention to a few things to show what kind of impact it has to have a listing riddled with errors. So right from the first sentence, we have bully sticks are scrape away plaque and tartar. So that is not correctly written. 100% digestible and safe for your dog. There's missing a space there. In the second bullet, harmful materials is misspelled. Interestingly, when you misspell something that is a cause of potential alarm, rather than providing reassurance, this actually makes me more nervous that there are, in fact, harmful materials. So it has the reverse effect of what that phrase is meant to have. Another thing that is not directly related to grammar, but I think is important to address here, is you'll see throughout they've made this very big emphasis on the fact that these are really safe. So in the first bullet, it says safe for your dog. Second bullet, it's saying without any harmful materials. And the third bullet, extremely safe and will never splinter. And then in the fifth bullet, they're talking about the fact that they don't splinter like other treats, so you don't have to worry about broken off pieces causing any internal injuries. So they're speaking so much about this potential risk that instead of making me feel confident that this bully stick is going to be a safe alternative for my dog, I actually feel totally mortified about giving my dog any treats because I'm scared that any treat that I give them has a potential to send them to the emergency room and leave me with a very costly vet bill and potentially have a really serious health issue for my animal. So you want to make sure, and this will become even more, I hope, clearer when we go into one of the following sections of this presentation, is that yes, you want to understand what your customers' concerns and fears are, but you need to be delicate with how you communicate around those. And so things like correct spelling and grammar, but also making sure that you are thinking thoughtfully about how to communicate around those topics will have a positive impact on how your listing performs and the kinds of relationships that you create with your customers. So tip number 3, use active language. This is when you might start to think, okay, is this a presentation about my listing, or did I go back to junior high and am I in an English class? No, you didn't. Yes, this is about listings, and it's a really small trick that can inject a lot of energy into your copy. And the more energy you have, the better you'll be able to hold attention, which means that people are going to be less likely to get bored, to click on one of your competitors, or to go get lost in something else completely and forget about the fact that they were even shopping for a product like yours. So what do I mean by active language? It's comparing this feature does this thing to what the active way of saying that would be, do this thing thanks to this feature. It also means starting sentences with verbs. And as I mentioned, that will infuse a lot more energy into your copy. Now, one point that's worth making is that you don't necessarily want to start every single sentence this way, because with any type of writing, if you have the same sentence structure again and again and again, that's going to get repetitive and that's going to go against your objectives. But this is a way to bring in a different type of sentence that's going to really pack a punch and can really be effective when putting together your listing. So let's just break apart one part of the first bullet. So this isn't even the whole first bullet. And I just want to show you how we can kind of reimagine these sentences and phrases and pack that punch that we're talking about. So the first sentence, premium quality and healthy, chewy and tasty bully sticks are scrape away plaque and tartar. So not only is that kind of, but again, it also has that some of that grammatical errors that we mentioned previously. So a way that you could rewrite this would be eliminate plaque and tartar with premium, chewy, and tasty bully sticks. And you see that word eliminate. That is a really powerful verb. And it says a lot more than saying they can scrape away plaque and tartar. And so that is the kind of transformation that you want to be thinking about when you're writing a sentence using this technique. Similarly, 100% digestible and safe for your dog. Keep your dog safe and healthy because they're 100% digestible. So in this case, we're also really creating a cause and effect of saying, you're doing this because of this. It's even been shown in psychological studies that when you use a because statement, people are more likely to believe you and want to give you whatever it is that you're asking for as by using this kind of structure. So it is a really powerful psychological tool, just kind of an added bonus there that you want to consider. In this case, it's also just helping to draw that connection, provide a lot of detail, and really keep it centered also on the experience of the dog and the human. And then the last sentence that we'll look at, in addition to their high digestibility, bully sticks are a tasty single ingredient treat. So before we look at the alternative, what I want to call out here is that you see, in addition to their high digestibility, that phrase there does not need to be there. So even if you are not doing this technique of this active verb sentence structure, you still don't need that phrase there because the sentence before says 100% digestible. And so when we're talking about making sure to keep this writing concise, to the point, avoiding wordiness, those are the types of things that you want to be on the lookout for. Maybe it looks kind of good, or to you it even sounds nice, but is this helping to push the conversation forward, or are you repeating what you're just saying? If you're just repeating what you literally just said, then that means it's probably going to be wordier than it needs to be, and you're going to have a harder time holding attention. So instead, chop that part off and then write, treat your best friend to a tasty single ingredient snack. So we're using less characters, but we're saying more. And we're doing that in a really active, fun, engaging way that, again, is talking to the human and the dog experience. Tip number 4, fuse benefits and features to fuel the desire to buy. This is when you're going to have to put your thinking cap on a little bit more deeply. This is when we really need to start considering why somebody is ultimately wanting to buy a product like this. What problems does it solve? How does it compare to your competitors? How do you fit into that whole competitive landscape? And then what are those emotional drivers behind somebody's want or need that is compelling them to want to spend money on a product like this? So first, before we get into what that looks like, I think it's really important that we take a step back and talk about what is a benefit anyway. You might hear this sort of said a lot, lead with benefits. And I agree with that completely. It's really important. The more you can lead with benefits, the more emotionally impactful you're going to be with your writing. However, if we're not clear about what a benefit is, then it's really hard to be able to do that effectively. And so let's kind of dig in a little bit to get a much clearer sense of what a benefit is. So in this case, I'm taking the first bullet again. So we're going to kind of tear this apart. And the first bullet has a general benefit of healthy. So we're saying this is a healthy product for your dog. Now, the interesting thing there is that as I've called it a general benefit, what does that mean? There are a lot more specific benefits that fall under that healthy umbrella. Now, we don't have to talk to, and in fact, we might not even be able to talk to all of these benefits in one listing. But this is where, if you can learn how to drill down and get deeper, you can find some really helpful points to be able to address with your customers. You can use these to differentiate yourself. Maybe you'll find a unique way to position your product that your competitors aren't doing. Like I mentioned earlier, most listings aren't really talking about the fact that these are a great treat for high energy animals that have destructive tendencies. And so that could be a way of positioning this product in a really unique way, speaking to some very specific benefits that aren't unique to the product, but just aren't really emphasized by anybody else. So let's break apart the main features that I'm seeing in this bullet, and then I'm going to match it with a specific benefit. And so when you combine a feature and a benefit together, what happens is the feature isn't just left up to interpretation by the customer of why they should care about that. And the benefit isn't just an empty marketing statement. It's being backed up by some sort of detail or fact about your product that substantiates what you're saying. So, for example, 100% digestible. That's a feature of your product. Why does somebody care it's 100% digestible? The dog won't get sick. They won't make a mess if they get sick. So it could also minimize damage. So you see that there are actually a few benefits, even just within that one feature, that we could speak to that all relate to this idea of healthy more generally. So again, that's just one. Scrape away plaque and tartar. Okay, in this case, we could speak to the fact that this is going to increase the dog's longevity, so the animal is going to live longer. That's ultimately confronting that fear of death, which, if you remember when I mentioned a bit of foreshadowing and talking about the fact that the treats won't splinter, that's what I was referring to. Sometimes you might have this deep fear or emotional driver that's really significant, but you don't necessarily want to call it out. Like, think if you were selling a children's toy and you said, "Are you afraid that your kid is going to get seriously injured from using this product?" That would be mortifying to a lot of parents, even if it is a very real fear that they have. They don't necessarily want you talking about it in such a straightforward and aggressive manner. And so it's helpful to know that, to be thoughtful about that, and then to think about how can you communicate without necessarily touching a soft spot directly. Like if you have a bruise, you don't want to just shove the finger directly into the bruise. Complete source of amino acids. So that's going to yield a higher quality of life. So now we're not just talking about how long the animal is going to live. We're going to make sure that for all of those extra years or whatever that we get, that they're going to be really high quality, happy years. So you can enjoy time with your animal instead of watching the animal get old and start to suffer from pain and discomfort and not wanting to play and all of those things. Support muscles, brain, skin, and coat. So maybe in this case, what we're talking about is protect against illness and injury. So more time together, but also saving money because it can be really expensive to have an animal that you're constantly taking to the vet. Safe for allergies or sensitivities. So stress less, eliminate worry. If you're always fearful that what you're going to give your animal might cause a problem, then having that reassurance could be really valuable for you when you're shopping for a treat like this. So as you see here, benefits really dig in. And what you think might be a benefit could just be the tip of the iceberg of a whole array of additional benefits that could be of great value to the way that you present your product and communicate with your customers. So tip number 5, make it about them. It is so natural when you're writing about your own brand or your product to just say, we are so great and our product does this. And it's just how we naturally want to write about those things. But I'm going to encourage you to resist that urge and really put the customer as the central focus of your writing. So connect with your customers, identify their interests, as we've spoken about already, relate to their concerns, and really put them at the center of everything that you're communicating about. The more you can make it about them, the more they're going to ultimately care about you and get excited about your product and be able to envision themselves with your product. So now let's once again take this first bullet and let's rewrite it. So we've read the majority of this long and hefty bullet, which is too long. I recommend that you keep bullets around the 200 character mark. That's going to be just tight enough that you're going to really have to be thoughtful about making sure that every word is there either for SEO or for pushing the sale forward. And if it's not doing either of those two things, then it shouldn't be there. So what I might write instead is something like, choose the better bite, delight your dog, and channel destructive energy into chewy and tasty bully sticks. These healthy, tail-wagging treats satisfy their need to chew without causing upset tummies. So I've touched on almost all of the points of this first bullet. Now, I haven't gone into all of the details, but I still have so much more space to get into the nitty-gritty of some of those things that I don't need to incorporate all of that into the first bullet. So I've kind of touched on the larger ideas. As I mentioned, I'm really wanting to position this in a way of not just the fact that it's a healthy treat, but that it's going to be great for dogs that have a lot of energy and that you want a distraction for them. So that's sort of the framework that I'm setting up. This has far more energy in it. You see, I'm using that active language, delight your dog. We're making it about the customer. We're speaking to the dog and the human together and really making it about them in a very active, engaged way. And tip number 6, turn your photos into sales machines. We all know that images are vitally important, and that is just a given. But I am still shocked by how many Amazon sellers are not taking advantage of this real estate to the max in using high quality images combined with really thoughtful and effective text to be able to visually communicate key details, to reinforce important information, to share those winning benefits, to talk about your unique selling points, all of those things that you're doing with your bullets and your A+ content and everywhere else in your listing, you should also be communicating about in your photos, either because somebody is more of a visual shopper and that's just where they're going to be going to first, or maybe because it's going to help reinforce some key points, or there could even be certain details that it makes it easier for a customer to grasp and understand when they see it with the combination of photo and text. But neglecting that and either using really no text at all or text that's too long or doesn't really communicate much, or is poorly written, is sort of throwing that opportunity down the drain. So here are 3 photos that I don't have access to these files. I don't have a way of being able to redesign them. And I'm also not a designer. But if I were to rewrite the text, this is sort of how I might consider doing that. So the first photo is showing us that they have new packaging, same taste, odor-free. This is really weird text. So it's wanting to use a whole photo to call attention to this sealing technology of their bag, which is fine. The fact that it's new doesn't necessarily seem super important because this isn't a product that has a lot of reviews or that's, well known. So that right off the bat, I think we can scratch. But same taste doesn't really mean much to me as the customer. And we all know that a treat like this, a dog's going to devour, even if it doesn't taste, exactly the same. And then odor-free, that's important, but maybe it's better to save that for another photo. So what I would recommend doing is something like keep sticks tasting great, easy touch lock for extra freshness. So we're helping communicate why someone would want to use have a bag that has this kind of sealing technology, not just saying, oh, we have this new package that offers this, but why does that matter? Oh, because if you don't have that, then the treats might go bad and the dog might not want them, and then you're wasting a lot of money. So that is what's really going to help make this a more effective image. Additionally, you see I'm using that active language, keep sticks tasting great, easy touch lock for extra freshness. I'm speaking to some of those different benefits as well. So I'm doing a lot of the techniques that I've already spoken about earlier, and then I'm applying those to the shorter phrases that you would want to use with good photo text. With the second image, you see they're trying to pack in so much that it's teeny tiny. It's also really low resolution. So even when you zoom in, you can't really read them that well. And the whole way that they've designed this photo is just bizarre. So I would suggest that they redesign it. But what I would also suggest is that they use a larger header for the various points, the various features that they're trying to point out. And then I would also tighten those up. So for example, the first one is 100% natural bully sticks. So I would write 100% beef, free range, grass-fed, low in fat, high in protein. So it's all of those important things that people want to know, but in a more graspable, less wordy way, which also means that you'll be able to use a bigger font. And then that header at the top, healthy dog, happy you. So bringing the customer in, talking to the benefits, and really making this something that's going to be motivating and excitement building. And then lastly, it's the best of the 3, but it's still not fantastic. I would write something like nothing beats better treats. If there's another point that you're wanting to incorporate as well, then you could add a secondary phrase there. But something like that to really show that it's a happy dog. It's going to be a positive experience. Will be a little bit more motivating. The doggy satisfaction guaranteed with 2 exclamation points feels a little bit cheap. So similar vibe, but in a more professional tone. And then the last thing that I'm going to encourage you to do, and this is where it starts to kind of go to a whole more complicated level, that even if you don't get here, all of these other tips, if you can apply those to your bullets, to your title, to your A+ content, to your product description, to your photos, you will see that your writing becomes more effective and helps you get what it is that you're after. But once you feel like you've mastered that, then I would really encourage you to start to think about how you can go a little bit deeper, to really build out who you are as a brand and to develop a unique voice. And that can be a very, very powerful tool for you to use to differentiate yourself from the competitors. It's very rare these days to be selling a product that is totally unique. Instead, things like a really clear brand identity can be invaluable tools in setting you apart from your competition, even if your product is relatively the same as the other people that you're selling against. So if you have questions, if you feel like you've nailed all this stuff and you just want us to take a look, or if you'd like us to take a look at your listing and point out some of these things for you and give you some free feedback, we'd be happy to offer a free listing analysis if you go to marketingbyemma.com/sellerfest22 or scan that QR code. And here are my contact details. We also just recently started a YouTube channel, Marketing by Emma. But please feel free to reach out in whatever format you're most comfortable with, at our website, email, phone, Facebook. We're on all the places, and we would love to help you take your listings to the next level, answer any questions, or help in any other way that we can.
Awesome, Emma. I always enjoyed the content you produce and bring to us. So thank you so much for all of these tips and tricks you shared with us. So for the viewers, if you enjoyed this session, then please hit like to the video and also subscribe to Orange Klik channel. You will see Emma videos there as well. We have recorded a few interviews already before, which are already also very valuable for you. So Emma, I wanted to ask you about the VIP video we recorded together. So in that video, you are actually going through a step-by-step guide to analyze the listing. So could you introduce that video a little bit more?
Definitely. So in that video, I'm really giving you exactly how we take a look at a listing to figure out where those key opportunities are to really take it to the next level and set that product apart. It is also a fantastic playbook that you can use for determining if there might be opportunities for a product to launch. So even if you're just analyzing your competitors, this can be a really awesome process to follow to see, if I were to launch something here, would I be able to create something that would do even better than everybody else? So this has a lot of different applications, from finding out where those areas of improvement are for the products you're already selling, to preparing for your next product launch or even your product research. So I highly recommend upgrading to that VIP package. I know this is packed with content, and also all the other speakers I know are delivering incredible, valuable content as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like Emma said, you will not only get Emma's VIP video, but you will get also the detailed videos, spreadsheets, guides, everything from all of the other 20 plus speakers we have in this event as well. So very awesome. So let's bring in Sophia. And I know she wants to share some thank you messages with you that we have received during your presentation.
Yes, so actually the viewers are really enjoying the content that we're sharing. So we have here, for example, Mary says that she loves the way you present the information. We also have Kim. Kim says that awesome info. We tend to focus too much on features more than benefits. I agree. Yes.
It's such a common struggle. And I think, you spend all of this time developing a product, and the features are a really important part of making sure that you have an awesome product. And so then you kind of have to take this step back and say, okay, I know why this product is so great, and I know why these things matter, but my customer doesn't know my product at all. And so it's really about helping them discover why those features are something to care about. So it's totally normal. I see it all the time. It's one of the most common mistakes. And with some small adjustments, you can probably still keep those features there, but help people understand why they should care even more.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, absolutely agree. And then let's kick off the Q&A part of the video. So to the viewers, if you have questions for Emma, now is your chance. Drop them in the live chat and Emma will be answering. So we already have some questions. So the first one from Jeff. Jeff has some questions. So I'm very excited to see what answers you will have for him. So hi Emma, love your content. What are the best modules and practices for the A+ brand story?
Oh, great question. Kind of taking a detour to a more advanced topic. I love that segue. So, best practices for A+ brand story. I would say first and foremost, what you want to be thinking about, again, it's really common because, okay, this is the chance that you are supposed to be talking about yourself. But if you're only thinking about yourself and not thinking about the perspective of the customer, you're probably not going to write as engaging of a story. And these are some of the hardest things for us to do on our own about ourselves and our own story. So I would encourage you to really practice this, talk with people, see what they find interesting. And so kind of circling it back, you want to make sure that the points that you're including, you don't have a lot of space in the brand story. It's pretty compact space. So you really want to make sure that the information that you're sharing is going to be either emotionally compelling to your customers, or a point of interest that's going to pique curiosity and make them want to learn more. So what's also important to consider is this brand story module is going to be visible across all of your products. So you also need to make sure that it's going to be relevant to every single customer on every single product, so that it's not too much focused on one area to the exclusion of the others. So there's a lot to manage in a really limited amount of space. And doing this, I would say, is probably one of the most challenging pieces of all of this, is telling a good brand story. So it takes time.
Thank you for sharing. It's definitely, I think, a complex topic. Let's take it back then to something more, I guess, bullet points. It's not as complex as brand stories, definitely. Jeff asks, do you think posing a relevant question in the bullet points can be effective and engaging for the customer?
It definitely can be. And this is a pretty common copywriting technique that people use. It's just something that you want to be thoughtful about how you use it, because there can be a very fine line where that kind of question and answer technique can start to feel a little bit cheesy or salesy, and people don't necessarily want to be sold to. So it can be used. You just want to use it in moderation and in a way that is going to really make sure that it's truly addressing something, or addressing a point that people care about, or addressing something that people really want to know. So like if you say something like, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Like, to me, that's sort of one of those like late night infomercial kinds of questions that you might see. So that might be a little bit too far down that rabbit hole. Whereas if you say, do you find it challenging to turn off your brain when you're going to bed at night? It's almost the same kind of question that you're asking, but that question would be really talking to a very real struggle that somebody has. And so it's connecting around a concern and probably a strong motivator that's driving somebody. I guess I'm imagining, some sort of sleep supplement or something else like that when I think of this example. But that might be a way to utilize the technique of a question without kind of crossing over into that line of being manipulative, which is something that you want to avoid.
Okay, very good. So let's take another question from Claudia. I have heard you should write your bullets and description at a grade 5 or 6 level. Do you agree with this? And if so, then why this is true?
So I would say it depends, which I know is not a satisfying answer. And you really want to make that decision based upon who your customer is that you're selling to. And so if you're selling something to the general public, then yes, keeping that at a lower grade level is going to make it so that the most amount of people are going to be able to quickly and easily understand it. It sort of goes along the same lines as with organizing your listing in a way that's going to be easy to navigate and quick to digest and understand. And so if you're using overly complex vocabulary or sentence structures, then it might make it more difficult for the average person to be able to quickly and easily understand your messaging. However, you might be selling a product to a more specific niche that is either highly educated or has more advanced understanding of that particular category. So let's say, for example, you're selling power tools, but you're selling a specific type of power tool that's meant for advanced carpenters. So this isn't something that just anybody could use. This is for somebody that spent years doing woodworking and has a really strong knowledge of this space. If you aren't using the correct vocabulary in that situation, then you might have the adverse effect of making these craftsmen think that you don't understand their niche well enough, and that this is really more of a beginner level product. So the same thing could be true for really any of that more advanced level specific type of product. You know, if it's a yoga practitioner or you know, even like somebody that needs a really fancy calculator. Do people use calculators anymore? I don't even know. I've been out of school too long, but at least in my day when we had those really fancy calculators, you know, somebody that needs like a $200 calculator is going to have different requirements and expect to see different kinds of conversation than somebody that needs just like a very basic calculator to do quick sums when they're doing their budgeting. I think all of that just made me sound very old-fashioned, but hopefully it made my point.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. So Kim is asking, so great revision from Emma. So thank you for that. I thought the word safe is not allowed or is restricted in the listing. So do you know anything about it?
Yeah, so there's a whole list of words that you either can't use at all or you can use in certain contexts. And so something like safe is one of those words that you should always make sure that your category is allowed to use, but it really depends. So sometimes you can't, sometimes you can. There isn't a hard and fast rule on safe in particular. Another area where there's a lot of that nuance might be something like anything. I'm sure most of you have probably heard about the pesticide issues. And so products that don't have anything to do with organic materials can use those words. It's just that you have to make sure that you've communicated all of that clearly, because if you need to use the word mold to mean to take the imprint of somebody's hand, you can't describe that with another word. So you want to be aware of those. You want to be mindful of not using them when you can, and then when you can, just communicating upfront so that you're not potentially creating an issue. Another area that I think people don't always consider is the environmental claims. That for the A+ content in particular is another tricky spot that isn't considered, particularly when it comes to what's considered greenwashing. So using words like environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, green, things like that, you need to be really considerate of. Even biodegradable and compostable, you can't use those terms if your product isn't in fact biodegradable or compostable. So you can find all of those lists of things in Seller Central if you're not sure, and it is worth having a list there for yourself so you don't say something that you're not supposed to. Great question.
That was a great point indeed. I actually had problems before with the eco-friendly word, so it's very good that you mentioned it. And one more question from Claudia. Should I use the Hemingway editor app? Do you know this app, Emma?
I do know it. I haven't worked with it directly, but it is from the people that I know that have used it, they say that they've really enjoyed it. It seems to be a combination of something like Grammarly, which I think is a little bit more widely known, that is going to correct spelling and grammar and make your writing more readable, while also giving some different stylistic kinds of recommendations and edits to make your writing a little bit more effective. So I think those kinds of tools can be really great when you're learning how to do something, because it's showing you different ways of wording things than what you might not do anyway. So it's almost like having a real-time editor or coach sitting next to you saying, like, have you thought of this? And then you're able to add more and more tools to your arsenal of, oh, okay, well, I would normally think to write it this way, but I remember that it corrected it and gave me this as an option. So I think I'll consider writing it that way and just see how it performs.
Very good. So actually, before we go to one of the last questions, I wanted to highlight, so somebody is writing, Emma wrote my listing 4 years ago and did an excellent job. Highly recommended.
Oh.
So that's also good.
Thank you, Noemi.
Could you actually once more highlight what was the offer you mentioned in the end of your presentation about the free listing analysis?
Yeah, so this is it's kind of a teaser actually for the for the VIP content. So the VIP content actually shows you behind the scenes, so you can do this for yourself and do it for against your competitors and everything. But it's really, we're taking a look at your listing and giving you some feedback about where we see as some big areas for improvement. And those are things that you can just take those tips and apply them yourself if you don't want our help, or if you had somebody else write your listing and you want them to improve it, you could give those notes to them. And this is really a muscle that you need to train. It's not that we're all naturally gifted at being able to do this kind of writing well. When we bring somebody new onto the team, they train for months. These are really good writers, but they still have to train to be able to write this way for Amazon. And it's very complicated. You're having to manage all of your keywords and your SEO. And then, Kim mentioned the restricted words, and we have to organize it, and we have limited space. So we have a lot of rules that we're needing to navigate. And so we can kind of get lost along the way when we do that. And so this listing analysis is us being able to kind of look at the whole and say, where might there be some opportunities here for you to communicate this more effectively and to make this a stronger listing?
Okay, so actually it's a good idea now to go over. So how do you usually help Amazon sellers, and what are the services Marketing by Emma offers?
So one of our core offerings is really to help you either rewrite or create a new listing from scratch. And so that can include keyword research if you need our help with that. If you don't, we also have packages without it. And then creating the title, the bullets, the description. And then if you need A+ content, we can also help with creating the choosing the modules, recommending what images to use, and then writing all of the text. So then it's a really simple creative brief essentially that we give you that you can send over to your designer or photographer. They know exactly what they need to do, and then you can make sure that your whole listing is one cohesive whole. We also can help with your brand story, your storefront copy, your website copy, any of those texts that you need to be able to communicate why your products are so fantastic, what makes your brand special, and create those meaningful relationships with your customers.
Thank you for sharing, Emma. And final question for today. How do you handle the copywriting if you have 2 or 3 clients who have the exact same products? Thank you.
Oh, that's a great question. Fortunately, this isn't as much of an issue. In the past, when everybody was using one sort of tool or reference point to find out what the hot product was, you'd get this product and you think, wow, this is so unique. And then there would be 20 other products that would come right in a row that would that would all be the same. And so that doesn't really seem to be the case as much anymore. In our particular case, because we have different writers, our first thing that we do is we just have different writers take each of those products. But additionally, that's where what I've been talking about with at the end of this presentation, I just sort of gave a little teaser of that, talking about brand and story. That's where those things in particular become so important, because that's always going to be unique to who you are. It's no different than how we are as people. You know, all three of us women here, we're all brunettes, but we're all very distinct individuals that have different personalities and different interests. And so you could say, okay, well, we're all, part of the same category, but actually there is so much diversity there when you dig in. And so the same thing can be done when you're writing about a product. So whether it's us handling a similar product for different clients, or even just writing for a product that's in a very crowded niche, because sometimes we get a product that's, there are many, many, many people selling it. And it's very difficult at that point to say that there's something unique to the product itself. And so when we're really able to develop out and lean into that branding and the voice and how we position it, we can still create something that's really unique and motivating for customers to want to buy.
Thank you. Okay, now for real, the final question. This is the last question. Claudia asks, because we were talking earlier about the restricted words or the topics in which we should be careful mentioning. So where can she find the list of these topics and restricted words?
I don't know the link for that off the top of my head, but when we get off of this, I can post that link in the comments of this video. So if you want to check back for that, I can do that really, really quickly, because there's a mostly exhaustive list there, and then there are a few other places, but that will be a good resource that will give you most of what you need to be able to write a bit more confidently.
Yes, I think, Emma, if you will be trying to comment with the link under our video, it will not work out because it's not allowed to put links. Sometimes people put different links. So
Sure.
Better if you can send to us and we will comment for sure.
Cool.
And of course, all the relevant links to this presentation you will find below in this this description of this video, and also the link to Emma's service. So check her out. I think a lot of people I saw, they were happy about the value you gave. And thank you very much, Sophia. Thank you very much, Lisette.
Thank you.
And
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Bye.
Bye.
And now I would like to invite you to watch another video with Emma, where she gives even more tips how to create Amazon listing that converts.